Thank you for joining us today at Reeves Catering for the Reeves Catering mobile bar box for the mobile bartender, taking items from one solid location to another to make sure that you are prepared with all the correct equipment. What we have here is your to-go pre-constructed bar box that we will disassemble and explain on top of our presentation board here for you. So let's get started. All right. Obviously, one of the most important things you're going to need for a bar is going to be your hand towels. You're going to find an assortment in this box for you. Make sure you don't overuse these towels. One, keep for your hand onto your side, as well as the other ones to maintain the cleanliness of your area. Bar towels. Next in line, we're going to be notifying that you will need an item for your guests to enjoy their cocktails with, being a Collins or a Rocks if they wish. So you're going to need some straws in order to allow them to sip without having to ruin their lipstick on the rims of their glasses. Straws. Of course, if you're going to be opening any sort of bottles, tonic, sodas, sparkling water, you're going to need a bottle opener. Also for the cervezas, vivos, or beers, that will be coming from a glass bottle that are not twists off your bottle opener. Obviously, there's going to be some certain cocktails that are going to need to be smoked. And with those, your bar box is going to be equipped with a smoke topper, the filtering screen that will hold the wood chips, and then of course the top cap to enclose the smoke being burnt from the wood chips themselves. So you have your smoke topper, you're going to have your butane torch that is going to also have a backup canister of butane fuel to make sure you can keep it filled to have that consistent strength of the flame. And then of course, you're gonna have an assortment of wooden chips. You're gonna have an oak, a hickory, a cherry wood, as well as a walnut. Some would say it's crazy, I think it's just nice. Next down the line, we are going to be finding for these certain drinks, mojitos. If you're doing any berry smashes, you're going to have a muddler in there for you to make sure you can pulverize and break down those ingredients inside your mixing tin when you need. Of course, when it comes to a lot of items being used on the bar, we're going to have to use an instrument to scoop or stir and blend and churn. So you're going to see a bar mixing spoon at 10 inches, and it's always nice to have a backup in there as well. So you will be having 2 bar spoons equipped in your bar box for the insurance that if one drops on the ground, you always have a backup ready to go while your back bar staff is assisting in the sanitization of your equipment. And then for good measure, if you're going to be pulling any Gibsons or dirty martinis, you can also have a nice little Poseidon sharper edge in order to stab and remove pearl onions, pimento olives, blue cheese, stuffed olives, or even Luxardo maraschino cherries. So an additional item just for the insurance. Obviously, you're going to have to use a vessel in order to mix a lot of these ingredients to use your bar spoons. And so, we have in your bar box your mixing glass. You stir spirits, you shake citrus, which you have that equipment in your box that we will get to. Your mixing glass. Of course, in order to measure your ingredients, you are going to need your measuring devices, being a jigger. These are Japanese style jiggers with the measurements on the inside of the device. You're going to find a 1/2 ounce line, a 2 ounce line, which is going to be the full side. Then you flip it over to the other. You're going to have a 1 ounce to the full, 1/2 ounce measurement, 3/4 ounce measurement, and both equipped with those for you, so you have ease of operation and consistency of your cocktails, so that no matter what bar our guests arrive to, they will be getting the same cocktail no matter what bartender is making them, so it is a complete ensemble instead of the individual showcase. Obviously, you're going to need a device that's going to help you maintain a clean pour instead of pouring directly from the bottle. So you will have an assortment of bar tops with caps to keep the fruit flies out when items aren't being used for service in the box for you. And when it comes to using your mixing glass, we do not use a traditional Hawthorne strainer. we like to use what is called a julep strainer. So that inserts into the side of the glass, and with the liquid level, with the ice filled, it should rest about there, and you easily hold it with one hand and your finger and dispense over the glass when it is time for the finished cocktail over the garnished glass with fresh ice. Your julep strainer. Of course, when you're making a very clean cocktail, if they don't want to have the snowflakes or shards of ice when shaking a martini, even though the traditional martinis are stirred for vodka and gin, we want to make sure that they don't have any items in their mouth besides just a clean liquid being the finished cocktail. And you're going to be using a double mesh strainer, which will be poured over top of the glass, and using a Hawthorne strainer in your mixing tins to make sure that you make it nice and clean to hold the remaining items in the strainer itself. Your double mesh strainer. Now, of course, there's going to be some garnishes that we are going to have to prepare for these cocktails. Sometimes we have an assortment prepared ahead of time, cut lemons, limes, oranges, or dehydrated fruit. But sometimes when you can make a little bit more experience to go above and beyond for your guests, you can do created cut garnishes in a certain, we'll say, origami fashion for them. And with those, you're going to be equipped with a cutting board, a petite cutting board, 2 assortment of knives. You're going to have a serrated edge if you need to go quickly through bar fruit to prep. But what always makes the cleanest cuts is going to be the clean edge for your paring knife. That's going to give it a very nice solid finish instead of maybe a jagged finish on there. So your paring knives with your cutting board. As we said, for the smoker, your bar boxes will be equipped with a canister of butane fuel, so you can always refuel when you need to. You would simply refuel it by removing the cap, and you're going to see the extended male wand, and the female insertion piece will be the perforated hole at the bottom of your butane torch, and you would simply turn it upside down and press until you would feel a little bit of tension giving back. And then always make sure you push the end to make sure you get a nice strong flame before continuing and placing your fuel away. So your backup fuel will be ready for you for your butane torch and your smoking equipment. Of course, when you're going to be dealing with garnishes, to go back to the cutting board and knives, if you don't have gloves in order to handle raw materials being served to guests, we do have an assortment of tongs for you that can be used for your pearl onions, your olives, your Luxardo cherries, as well as ice if you are going to be using any hard or small rocks in order to finish accent or minorly dilute your beverages for the desired guest's preference. Your petite tongs for you there. If you're going to be doing any zests or twists for the lemons, oranges, or limes, we have a petite zester to give you those twists right then and there. Obviously, you don't want to be using the flat edge towards the fruit when doing the display. You're going to be using the extended edge where the blade is, and simply turn over to the desired length you wish, and then obviously remove, twist, and place inside your finished cocktail. Your zester. Next in line, with all bar stations, we do have a captain's knife. This is a double hinged captain's knife. You have the first hinge right where it would rotate, the second one, and these are items to pull half of the cork up and then finish it the rest of the way, so you don't have the risk of breaking the cork and causing a little bit more work that is unnecessary for yourself. Obviously, you have the corkscrew into the center, and then when it comes to removing the foil, please utilize the petite knife that's right there, and these ones have a little serrated edge for the ease of operations for you. Your captain's knife, your wine key. Of course, when it comes to doing additional zests for old fashions or enlarged twists when you want to create a nice cut, we have your vegetable peelers right here. These are on a little rotating hinge, so please be careful when operating so you do not cut yourself. And this will be for your oranges, your lemons, or limes. And remember, always zest and make your peels over top the glass so you capture the remaining citrus in the beverage itself. Your vegetable peeler. When it comes to the additional items, going back to your wood smoked box, we do have a serving utensil to scoop out of the wood chips and put into the center of your smoked topper. These ones are a little bit more aesthetically pleasing on the golden leaf finish, so it just makes you stand out a little bit more than the rest, so your guests understand the level that you are supplying them in their experience for whatever the event may be. And then, of course, we have our bar spoons, our mixing glass, and our measurements, our strainers, our garnish preps. We have the final cocktails in order to make, which you stir spirits. Now it's time to shake citrus, where when it comes to straining, we have what's called your Hawthorne strainer. Remember, this is your julep strainer. Now we have your Hawthorne strainer. Yes, of course, you can use the Hawthorne strainer on your mixing glass, but that's not its desired use. The Hawthorne strainer is used for shaking your cocktails. And in your bar box, you are going to find 3 sets of mixing tins for you. These mixing tins obviously have 3 small edges, 3 smaller cups, as well as 3 larger tins. So you usually would build your cocktail in the larger tin, and then obviously you would cap with the smaller tin, shake for the assortment of time until it's cold to the touch, pop off, and separate off to the side. And then, of course, when it comes to straining your cocktail, Hawthorne strainer on top, pour over. And if you wanted to make that clean cocktail, reverting back to the double mesh strainer, you would have that over top of your finished glass and strain through. So you're just picking up the small amounts of ice and retaining the large raw materials inside your mixing tin. So Hawthorne strainer, large mixing tin, petite mixing tin to cover the cap, and then the double mesh strainer to resort back as the clean finish for that drink. And in any way, shape, or form we find ourselves lost and we don't have our team to assist us in maybe a cocktail we've never heard of, but being mixologists, we all know how to pour and use the equipment in front of us. So we have equipped every single bar box with the bartender's handbook. This will have an assortment of cocktails from the last 100 years that are well recognized among all bars in the industry to give you the correct information to the mixing pours used to make the desired cocktails that your guests have had all over the world at different establishments, and now you'll be able to create those for them and that have instruction of clarity at your fingertips at all points in time. This will be your finished to-go bar box for the mobile traveling bartender, brought to you by Reeves Catering. Thank you very much.